watching KCRG TV 9, now from your 24-hour news source. This is KCRG TV 9 News at 6.
Police say it was a homeless man who killed an Iowa State University star golfer Monday morning in Ames, and that's raising concerns about Iowa's homeless population.
And because the murder was near the ISU campus, that concern is heightened in Iowa City, where, of course, the University of Iowa campus is. Prosecutors have charged this man with murder. Police say Colin Richards was living in a homeless camp near an Ames golf course, and that's where police say he killed Celia Barquin Arozamena Monday morning. The native of Spain was a champion golfer for the Cyclones. Officials say she'd been assaulted and died as a result. KCRG TV 9 Chantelle Navarro looked into misconceptions about the homeless and joins us now from our newsroom.
Beth, just like the stigma that surrounded immigrants following Mollie Tibbetts' death, experts now worry a similar situation will happen following homeless populations.
I've been homeless in the past.
Jennifer Patel is a peer support specialist at Our Place, a safe haven for people suffering mental illness. Now she tries to work to help those who are home deprived because she gets it.
I was paying a check and a half for my rent with someone who was an alcoholic, and we became short on rent.
That's why she says the last thing she wants is for Celia Barquin Arozamena's murder to be used to further the stigma that homeless people are violent.
Some people are scared of the homeless.
But they shouldn't be. The numbers paint a different picture. In fact, homeless are more likely to be a victim of crime than commit one. A 25-city survey shows 16% of homeless are victims of domestic violence. Another study shows 50% of homeless females report domestic violence was the immediate cause.
Just because an act of violence is committed by a homeless person doesn't mean at all that all homeless people are violent. You know, violence knows no boundaries. It's not limited by socioeconomic status.
Johnson County Deputy Sergeant Brad Kunkel agrees there's no correlation. He suggests the issue in cases like Tibbetts and Arozamena's isn't a population, it's more broad.
How do we stop men from victimizing women? We need to focus more on the offender and their history, their behaviors.
And tragedy doesn't discriminate. Just ask Patel.
I was raised in a middle class, and if I can become homeless, almost anyone can become homeless.
I also reached out to the University of Iowa for comment, who referred me to their annual safety message, and that lists school services like Night Rive and the Rape Guardian app, which is a virtual escort service for people who are nervous walking home alone late at night. I'll put the link with this story on KCRG.com. In the newsroom, Chantelle Navarro, KCRG TV 9 News.
Colin Richards is no stranger to law enforcement.
TV9's chief investigative reporter Josh Scheinblum checked the Iowa court system for his criminal history. And Josh, many of us in the newsroom were wondering why Richards wasn't already in prison.
Well, it's a good question because he does have a lengthy history and many serious convictions. Now, we've gone through court documents from 15 court cases involving Richards dating back to 2014, many of them connected to violent crimes. Now, over the years, some of the crimes Richards has been convicted of include harassment, theft, and domestic abuse. The harassment case stems from an incident in January 2015 where he threatened to shoot up a gas station in Guthrie County after clerks there claimed they caught him trying to steal energy drinks. His sentence, 90 days in jail. It was just a month later he'd find himself in front of a judge again for stealing a car. The end result, a 2-year prison sentence, suspended, so no jail time. Richards was arrested again that June, this time for domestic abuse, for putting a woman in a headlock and dragging her outside. He got 60 days in jail for that. He'd be back in jail again in September 2016 after being convicted of stealing tobacco and beer from the same gas station he had previously threatened to shoot up. That again got a suspended prison sentence and time served for 31 days in jail. Richards' most recent conviction is from July for public intoxication. He was ordered to pay a fine in that case, and he was also on probation for several offenses that we have found, but it doesn't appear like he's been convicted for those offenses.
All right, thanks, Josh. The man accused of murdering University of Iowa student Mollie Tibbetts pleaded not guilty today.
Christian Bahena Rivera appeared at his arraignment in Poweshiek County Court. Tibbetts disappeared the evening of July 18th in Brooklyn while out jogging. The search for the 20-year-old lasted more than a month and drew national attention. Investigators eventually questioned Bahena Rivera after his car was recorded on a surveillance video following Tibbetts on her jog. He led officers to her body in a cornfield. An autopsy shows Tibbetts died from stab wounds, and KCRG TV9's Dave Fransman has more about today's court appearance. Dave?
Beth, this arraignment appearance was concerned mainly with the details needed to set the trial in motion next year. Now, today, Bahena Rivera made a plea of not guilty, waived his right to a speedy trial, and right now the trial is set for next April 16th. Bahena Rivera was last in court in late August following his arrest for the murder of Mollie Tibbetts. By waiving his right to a speedy trial, the defendant does not have to go on trial within 90 days. Both sides agreed to the April trial date. The attorney for Bahena Rivera says all the publicity will have an impact, and requesting a new location for a trial outside Poweshiek County is under consideration.
We will analyze that as the evidence comes in and time goes on, but this has got a lot of publicity. That's certainly a consideration.
The attorney would not say if he plans an insanity or diminished responsibility defense for Bahena Rivera. In a statement to police, the defendant claimed he had blocked his memory, which he says is what happens when he gets upset. Now, there have been a lot of statements from national politicians about the Tibbetts disappearance and Bahena Rivera's alleged lack of legal status in the U.S. His attorney, though, does not think any of that's going to play a role in the upcoming murder trial. Live in the studio, Dave Fransman, KCRG TV9 News.